Hi, love. Thank you so much for your patience. I really wanted to be present when I did this for you. Um, so thank you, because I needed to uh, not have as much on my mind. Know how school goes. So interesting thing. So I've just been kind of meditating, setting up my space. I'm going to show you what that looks like so you know what I'm kind of working with here. I've got my little altars where I will place all the cards and been burning some sage to help clear the area and clear the cards. Um, and interesting is that when I was like kind of meditating on what deck to use for you, Anima Mundi deck came up, and it's this guy. This is what the box looks like, and I'm going to be very honest, I'm not as familiar with these cards. So I thought that was funny because I'm like, oh, okay, this will be an interesting read. I mean, they are gorgeous cards. I just have to show you. Like, this is what the back looks like. They're all like lined in gold. This is an example of the death card. I absolutely love these cards. I think they're phenomenal. And when I got them, actually, um, my partner was playing an ultimate frisbee championship in Denver, so we had flown to Denver, and I took them with me, and we sat and like picked cards one night and read them to each other, and they were just really powerful. So, but I haven't used them since, and that was in July of 2019. So I will be probably referencing the guidebook at some point, just to get more of a feel for the card. I also may reference Everyday Tarot by it's Biddy Tarot. Bridget Esselmont is the author, but that's usually a website I recommend for people if they want to dig, like if a card strikes you, like if there's a particular card that just like really stirs you. You can go to Biddy Tarot, BIDDY tarot.com, and she actually has all of the cards. She has the description of all the cards. So that's a good little extra homework for you. What I would recommend right now, while I'm kind of shuffling and getting things ready, is to grab a notebook and a pen. You may even want some markers or colored pencils or something creative and fun. And the beauty of a video reading is that you can pause and write things down. You can rewind. You can go back and read again. I've had folks who would read it like after a period of time, or who would listen to it again after a period of time and just see like what came, like, I don't like to say what came true, but what came to fruition, or how things evolved, or uh, adapted. That's not really the word, but it's the word that keeps coming to mind. My language skills have been rough lately. I don't remember anything. My brain is just like, please stop putting stuff in. So I've invited any guides that you might have that might be tending to you to join me for this. And I am asking now of the cards what you might need to hear. I know you wanted to focus on this, relate a specific person that had come into your life. So I'm setting that intention out as well. And we'll see how that comes up. And then the other deck I'm working with, because I want to do kind of like a theme card for you for your reading, is I'm going to shuffle those real quick. Okay, and that is from a deck called Secrets of the Mystic Grove. And I really love these, apart from the characters being like predominantly white. I just become really sensitive to that. Like I don't want I don't want that to be um, you know, what I'm dipping into most of the time. But this is really cute and clever, quirky characters, and the cards are just really awesome. So I'm gonna pick one of those first, just to something to guide our reading here. And the interesting, the card is Awakening. So it's attraction, beginning, newness, community. And I'm just going to set that at the top to guide our reading. I'm also going to share. I'm going to share what the little book says about that. Okay. Spring is a time of awakening and renewal. Birds, butterflies, bees, and blossoms all begin their life cycles anew. The sleeping world begins to rouse from its dormant state. Barn swallows, those amazing aerial acrobats, swoop in as harbingers of the coming regenerative cycles. They revel in flying together. Flowers serve as reminders that the liminal time of waking is beautiful, if fleeting. Open your eyes up to the world around you. Seek out new places, people, and experiences. Let your thoughts blossom to all the possibilities as infinite options unfold before you. As you awaken to the new days, remember to put any sorrow aside. Instead, focus on listening to songs of birds, the hum of the bees. Shed your own cocoon for a shiny new you. Consider making art that celebrates birth and beginnings. It may be time for you to find others to commune with, those who are soaring in the same direction as you. Make a point of looking for new connections. When you see this card, you are invited to be Persephone to your own world. Emerge from your sheltered space. Focus on the clear, bright vision of your world as you need it to be. Now is the time to release your inner vernal goddess. Vernal just means like greenery, like the I think of vernal goddess like the green woman in pagan mythology, where she's just like wholly abundant, like initiator of all life. Life is just swirling around her. Okay. Anyway, awakening to your own desires will bring you to untapped joys. Yes. Okay. Oh, I wanted to highlight one of the lines. Focus on the clear, bright vision of your world as you need it to be. So just remembering that you are the co-creator of this existence, um, and you get to design the world that you want. Okay, so we're doing a Celtic cross setup here. Just grabbing the format that I like. I forget sometimes the prompts for the cards, the layout, and I can get pretty carried away. So I like to keep it handy, just mostly so it keeps me grounded and focused. Okay. All right. Okay. Whew. Okay. Let's do this. And just so that I'm upfront with you and myself, I am doing I'm doing all cards upright. So sometimes we do a reverse cards, and there's a whole other like layer to that, and I really want to keep things pretty simple because this using a deck that's fairly new to me is already going to complicate things a little bit. But you know what? I just always I choose to believe that the cards will land in the right places and that the story will be told that you need to hear. Um, and while we're kind of on that, man, these cards are just fucking beautiful. I need to use these more because they are phenomenal. But while we're on that, I just want to let this be a reminder that as you're um, as you are listening to this, it's not so important that you get down what I say word for word. Okay. What's really important is that you write down what you hear. And you might find that you wrote down something different than what I said, but that's okay because it's really about, I kind of picture it as this like, I'm going to say something, it's going to be like, it's going to go through a filter where it gets translated into a language that your soul understands. And then that's what you hear on the other side. Okay, so also on that note, you might find that you ask me a question about it and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I do welcome questions at the end, but I just like to be very upfront that I don't often remember readings unless they're particularly potent. So, and who knows, this might be, but like, if you ask me a question, just make sure you give me the context and then hopefully I can answer for you. But I want to show you your spread. Okay, so you can pause here and just take a look. Like I said, these images are phenomenal. And there's so much blue. There's so much blue on that left side, which is interesting. And there's a little bit more color and green and stuff on the trajectory, but that blue, man. Okay. All right, let's just start at the beginning. So okay. So recent past is the 5 in the major arcana, and that's the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is like traditionally pictured as the spiritual elder. I'm sorry, I need to grab some water real quick. Sorry, you're seeing my butt. Just keeping it real. Okay. The other thing about your reading I thought was funny, well, interesting, not like funny, haha, but is that my body wanted to be sitting on the ground with the cards. Sometimes I'll sit in my beanbag. My beanbag, it's like the size of a city. Okay, so the Hierophant, masculine energy, but spiritual. So the Hierophant's traditionally the spiritual guide. And so this is just recent past. This could be anywhere from yesterday to 2 weeks ago to 3 months ago, or any span of time throughout there. And I'm curious if there was some kind of like a spiritual awakening that you had during that time frame. Whatever it was pretty powerful. There are 12 points on this buck. I wonder if 12 comes up for you in any way. And then there are 2 keys, and the keys are facing each other. So, something being unlocked. I want to take a look at the book real quick just to see what this is, because it is a major arcana card, and those tend to be very potent messages. And maybe you're already like, yeah, I get this. It's the elk. It's represented by the elk. Oh, okay. So it says the Hierophant suggests to stay within convention. Rather than being innovated, now is the time to stick what has already been tried and true. The Hierophant, however, also encourages pursuing knowledge, such as through education or joining a group. So it's a lot about tradition too, which I forget about that part with the Hierophant. There's like the religion part of it that's more about like tradition and ritual. Um, so that's where you're coming from. Where you are currently is the 8 of the major arcana, which is strength. Honestly, I think it's really fascinating that um, you have 2 major arcanas in just this first spread, just talking about you. Um, so we have this really fascinating beetle. These cards are fantastic. And then the infinity sign. And so it's almost like there are 2 strengths we're talking about here, and you have them both, although one may not be like serving you as well. So you have an eternal strength. You have a very much an internal grounded strength. But then like the beetle, there's this hard shell. And that's really, I mean, okay, evolutionarily, that's strength for the beetle. Like it is it does serve as protection, but it's not the kind of strength we're going for here. Okay, the protection and strength are 2 different things. So protection says you need this because you're bound to get hurt, whereas strength says no matter what, I can handle what comes along. So what we're aiming for here, so this is your present self, okay? And I think what this card is reminding us is that we're aiming for the internal strength to be what you lean on versus that exterior shell building. Um, and then your near future. So kind of what you're moving through and into this guy. And I think it's fascinating that this card is so ambiguous. Like, what are you moving into? I don't know. Mystery. The great unknown. Um, but something big, something larger than yourself. I actually want to see what card that is because it doesn't give me, oh, it's the 2 of Wands. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, that gives me some direction. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so it says you're ready to start putting your ambitions to use. You are taking your ideas and turning them into tangible plans. This is a card of exiting your comfort zone and broadening your horizons, perhaps with travel, a new career, further education, etc. So a lot of discovery, moving forward, and that's your near future. There's a card that overlays these 3, and that's the bridge or the barrier. And for this time around, it is 14 of the major arcana, which is temperance. And I would say this is a bridge, because essentially what you're doing, moving from the Hierophant to the 2 of Wands, there's this sense of like you're moving from a place of more it's more expected, like it's more conventional, or it's something you've been rooted in and you're very familiar with. It's a place of deep familiarity, like just really, you know, back from the beginning of you even. And you're moving into a place of like wonder and discomfort and exploration. So you're evolving very quickly from one side, one line of the spectrum to the other. And um and the way to get there is temperance, which is really just patience and balance, right? So it's like when you temper yourself, you are keeping yourself from going to extremes. Like for example, what comes to mind is that you may sense this unknown thing calling you, and you may not be ready. And so you could immediately answer the call and be stranded there, or you could let it unfold, allow yourself to inch out. Right now you're a beetle, so I would say first step is like really deconstructing your shell and your outer protections so that you can eventually welcome in brand new things. And um so just patience and balance, right? Don't try to do anything too difficult, like too much. Okay, so I think about, like, um I have friends who are like preparing to live the van life. Okay. So there are steps to take. So this one person in particular, they're not actually a friend, just someone I follow on Instagram. This one person in particular, they're showing the daily progress of their van. Okay. So, let's say they did it DIY style because that's the budget they're working within and the skill set that they have, so, or that they're willing to learn. And every day they're putting a piece of their future together. They know that eventually they're going to be driving that van around and they're going to have their adventures and they don't know where they're going to end up or where they're going to land. But they are not just taking their van out as is. They want to make sure it's prepared. They want to make sure all the pieces are in place and that, there's gas in the car and a title on the vehicle and insurance and all of that, so that when they do go, they're set up. Okay. So that's kind of where you are. You're like in this place where you sense, maybe even you even outright know where you're going, but you got to really just like let yourself flow towards it. Don't try to rush. Don't try to rush the destination to you. Um, so, goals and desires. In that position, we have the Ace of Swords. Um, Fascinating image, huh? So we got that sword with the crown, feathers, almost as if like something has been, it's hard to tell if something has been killed or if feathers and leaves are just the symbolism. Um, and there's a lot of power in this card. And we have that crown, could be queen, it could be king. So we'll just, it could be masculine, it could be feminine energy. And then swords generally represent communication. So let's just look up what Ace of Swords might be here. So, and just remember, this is the goals. It's goals and ideals. And courage comes up here, new ideas, mental breakthroughs, and clarity. The confusion has cleared and you have a balanced mind. So this is like what your goal is that you would feel empowered, that you would be able to clearly assess the situation and be able to make a decision to go forward. And there's something about like the fog clearing, wanting the fog to clear and make a decision from that place. And I would say that lines up with everything else, like temperance, especially. That definitely lines up with that. And I'm not sure what it is you're working through, but I wanted to share a little bit of this. A friend of mine uh, just recently going through a breakup, and was kind of sharing their fears about um, not having communication with this person who broke up with them, and how they're afraid that that means that this person will never be in their life, and some other things. And what I shared with her was, we abstain from communication and let ourselves grieve because we can't make good decisions when we're grieving. And the same with like being tired. We can't make good decisions when we're tired. So it's almost like something needs to clear, and that, and you're really hopeful that you're going to be able to make a decision about this. You're hopeful that the fog will clear and that you'll be able to make a decision. Um, and I would say that lines up, and that you're spot on. So just give it some space. And then subconscious desires. We have the Queen of Cups. And of course, we have this beautiful whale. Incredibly sentient beings. Like, there's so much wisdom in this card. That's what I get. This is a subconscious influence, I should say. So water, cups is associated with water, and that's where we see a lot of emotion. But we have a whale here that knows how to traverse the waters. Like, they're experts in moving through the water. And I think that's a subconscious influence, is that the influence is that you know how to do this. You are emotionally wise, and um you know it's almost like everything I've told you already, you already know. Like, you already know that to be true. And maybe, most of the time I find that most people do already know the things that they hear. They just need to feel affirmed, and that's totally okay. um yeah, I feel like we got to move on because we are running out of time, and there's still so much material. I just want to cover it all. Okay. Um, okay, so your approach. This is so funny. This definitely lines up. Okay. Your approach right now is the Four of Cups. And look at it. We got a little hermit crab here. Your approach. So you want to be the wise, um, explorer of the depths, but your approach at the moment is to be holed up in a shell sitting on the bottom of the ocean floor. So, um, again, I don't think that I think that that's okay. There's no judgment here. I just think it's funny that I was like really getting that vibe with the beetle, and then it was like bang in your face. Um, and So process takes time, and it's okay. There's usually a reason for it. It's not necessary for you to wake up one day and just be like, I'm shedding my shell and I'm out of here. Although some crabs, that is the next step. Like, they've outgrown their shell, they need to shed it. It's time to move forward. That may very well be where you are. If you find you need a little bit more time, that's okay. That's where the patience and balance come in. So don't feel like, when I said right now, the next right thing is just to start deconstructing your shell and leaning on your inner wisdom. If your approach is that you're a little hermit crab in a shell right now, I don't know if you've ever approached those little critters, but any sudden movement and they are right back in that shell. So it's almost like this carries with it as well, like a sense of caution and gentleness. And I don't mean caution like caution you're going to get hurt. I mean like how you would approach like a wounded animal who needs gentle, slow, loving, quiet approach. Right? They can't handle if you were just to be like, "Okay, we're putting in a new home." They're going to be like freaking out on you. So just have that approach with yourself as well. Recognize that there is a part of you that does not want to be pulled out or away from this secure spot. And that's okay. You don't have to do any dragging or pulling or pushing or any of that. You just really need to meet yourself where you are, and allow that part of you to gently unfold. I'm hoping this is making sense. Okay, the environment that you're in is the Page of Wands, little salamander. Look at that. The salamander looks like almost 3D compared to that wand at the top. Page of Wands. So it's kind of, the page is, it's kind of the novice, but at the same time, they are conscribing themselves to be masters. So they usually are working with like the king, the knight, or the king or queen or whatever, and learning all of their ways. And I want to look that one up too because salamander is kind of cryptic. Excuse me. All right. Okay. The Page of Wands, like the Fool, which is one of our major arcana cards, has a fresh yet passionate outlook on life. Drawing this card indicates that you have a creative spark in you, so go ahead, be spontaneous, follow your creative muse. So that's the environment you're in. You're in an environment that's rife with exploration and enthusiasm and desire, discovery and creativity, which is fascinating because that is like where you're headed with the Two of Wands. So it reminds me of how I felt when I went to college, like as an undergrad, as an 18-year-old who I had spent time my junior and senior year. I actually had started looking at college as my sophomore year of high school. So for 2.5 years, I was researching and exploring and visiting. I only visited I only visited two. But all that time, I was putting things in place so that when the time was right, I could just leave. I could just go. And I went and I had such like bright, wide-eyed curiosity about everything. I wanted to experience and explore everything. And so that's just kind of the feeling that I get is like right now you're putting the pieces together, and very soon you're going to be able to just throw open those doors and head out into the unknown. What you need to know. The Nine of Pentacles. Tiger in the jungle. So the thing that's coming out of this most is just be you. What you need to know is that you're going to have what you need. And it's okay if you are somewhat fierce and maybe slightly intimidating, because those things help hold boundary for you. They help hold in the things that you want to keep close, and they help hold out or back the things that you don't. So trust that energy that's coming up in you, that fierce tiger lady type energy. I don't mean to use tiger lady because I know that's offensive in like Asian cultures, and I just want to go ahead and correct that, cut that off. There is a tiger-like fierceness in you, and yet the tiger is just like kind of chill, calmly waiting. Um, it a saying that I heard recently is, "What is meant to be will not pass you by." And I'm realizing like so much of this, there's something on your horizon that's pretty big, and it feels like it's going to open some doors for you. I recognize that at this point, like I have, as I'm saying all this and making all these observations, there is that nagging question that's like, well, what about this other person? So maybe you're feeling that and I'm just like picking up on it, but what about this person that I asked about? And I think it seems like what Tiger over here is trying to say. Ooh, I'm gonna get the Tiger card actually. Um, but what the Tiger is trying to say is, you don't need to rush. You don't need to push. The good thing that's coming to you is coming to you regardless. All you need to do is make sure that your boundaries are safe and healthy, and that you're upholding them. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the animal spirit deck because I want to see what it says too. Whew. Hopefully these little breaks are giving you some time to breathe and not feeling super annoying. Okay. So the other thing that's really interesting is that a lot of this, like, even salamanders live in water. So a lot of this has like been really watery, which is like really emotional. But the tiger is like it's earthbound, right? Like it's definitely above ground. So there's this energy of like commanding your world. And it brings me back to that one that's like the from the awakening card that said, basically you create your reality. I think that's what tiger energy is reminding us, that you are in control of your reality, and anything panicky or scary or that you feel, it really just needs to be run through the lens of the tiger energy. Is this something that serves me? No? Okay, it's got to go. And the tiger's not putting up with any bullshit. Okay, here we go. Here's the tiger and the tiger spirit, or the animal spirit deck. Look at that. Oh, it's got that moon on its head. It's got the moon in the third eye, which I don't know. There's something there about like you need to connect to your witchy self, like to that part of you that resonates with the moon and with the energies of the world. However that resonates with you, you need to tap into it. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Lunar force, ease in darkness, feminine energy. The tiger hunts at night, at one with the silence, fearing nothing. This card reminds us to take in the wild darkness, to allow the lunar forces to soothe and heal our spirits. Sensuality, receptivity, and devotion are all heightened in the midnight hour, and the tiger takes advantage of these boons. Spend some time in silence, drinking in the potent calm. There is nothing to fear in the stillness except the awakening of your own power. Damn, I just got goosebumps. Okay, it says when it's in balance, it's passionate, strong, and sensual. When out of balance, overstimulated. to bring into balance trataka, which is candle gazing. So it's usually like lighting a candle and then you kind of like close your eyes halfway so that you really just kind of like see the haze of the flame. And then and it's a meditation, it's actually a meditative tool. So sometimes people like myself who fall asleep when meditating for long stretches of time, um, they will candle gaze to kind of keep like keep awake, but also like meditative. Okay. Um, all right. So the conclusion card, the final outcome card, is the Seven of Swords. And I just think this is a really interesting conclusion card. You have a raven here is being harassed by all these swords. Seven of Swords. Let's see what the book says about Seven of Swords here. Seven of Swords is about deception and being sneaky about a situation rather than facing it head on. It may be you or someone in your life who is going behind the backs of others. When drawing this card, be sure to reflect on your intentions and make sure they are pure. So I think, with the flow of this, I think what it might be saying is that one of the one of the products of this journey that you're on is that you're going to be exposing something secretive that's not secretive in a good way. Some kind of self-deception or deception from others that once you really embody that tiger energy, you're not going to tolerate anymore. So, I think that also plays into the patience, the temperance card piece, is that when it comes to someone new in your life, you you will only learn about people's character through time, right? And through decisions they make. And so I think, part of this is when you become stronger in who you are and you allow yourself to not go after something out of like desperation, but rather to allow it to unfold, because those are two very different energies. You will see things as they are. You will begin to see yourself as you are. And so many times people are afraid of that because they're afraid that if they really look at themselves, they won't find anything worth seeing. And just know that who you are is beautiful and abundant and valuable and strong. And even if there's some things in there that you've been doing that are shadowy, it does not take away from the pure, invaluable nature of who you are. So don't be afraid to take a deep look at yourself right now. Don't be afraid to really, if you're going to be hermited in your little shell, you might as well do some self-reflection while you're in there. Get a little mirror, pull it into your shell, sit there and look at things, but do so with a loving eye, okay? Because reflecting on ourselves isn't meant to be, hey, you need to reflect on this because you're a piece of shit. That's even people who seem like the biggest pieces of shit in this life, they are still valuable creatures inside. And allowing yourself grace and compassion for what you find is going to be really powerful. And it may very well just be a part of the process of coaxing yourself out of that shell too. It may be that you've been in there because you've been too hard on yourself, or the world outside you has been hard on you. So, Okay, we are over time, but there was a lot there and I really wanted to dig in. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to give you one last view of your spread here um, with the extra cards, just because like this is the view I get to look at, and it's really lovely. All right, darling. I hope this serves you well. Many blessings to you on your journey, and we'll talk to you soon.